Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. In this episode, I'm going to be reviewing the Secret of Mana Remake, out now on Steam, PlayStation 4, and the PS Vita. The original Secret of Mana is one of my all-time favorite games, and easily the most influential game of my childhood. Filled with colorful worlds, incredible graphics and sprites, a huge variety of weapons and magic, epic soundtrack, engaging storyline, the ability to have multiplayer, a seemingly endless amount of replay by playing sections of the game in different orders, this game had everything! And when I learned that Square Enix was remaking the original from the ground up, I was filled with a surreal sense of nostalgia. How will the graphics look? Will the gameplay change? Will they add in content that had to be cut from the original due to cartridge space? And most importantly, did it live up to the peaks that the original had reached? So many questions. And then...
Yeah, we're not supposed to be here. Everyone in the village knows about the ghost.
The introduction of voices is immediately met with a sincere sense of... the hell?
Grown-ups just say there's a ghost to scare us away.
To be clear, I tried my best not to set any expectations going into this remake. I wanted to approach it with an open mind. As we enter an age where remakes, remasters, and re-releases are becoming more of a when and not if proposition for gamers, it's important to consider the why. Why is this being done? Is it a way to introduce a classic game to a new audience in a modern way? Is it to fix problems that existed in the original, add things that were unavailable when it initially released, like online compatibility? A way to make some easy money on a game that corporations know will sell if they slap their name on it? All of the above? The why is the most important question that exists. The Secret of Mana Remake on its own, without considering the predecessor from which it was created from, is a decent, above average game. The problem comes in when taking a step back, taking those glasses off made of nostalgia, and still being left with the feeling that the original did it better. That's what makes reviewing this type of game so challenging. Do I review it based off of the comparison with the Super Nintendo game, or do I review it based off its own merits, how it stands on its own, ignoring the source material? The view changes based off the perspective taken. Like a lenticular motion card, once you feel like you've pinned it down, it changes. I'm gonna do my best to compare this game to the original while also saying how it stands on its own merits, which is gonna be very challenging to do, but bear with me. The graphics. This is the wildest part of the game. The graphics grew on me. I wasn't the biggest fan of them initially, but outside of the mouths not moving during cutscenes, they were perfectly fine. Simplistic? Yeah. On par with high-end mobile games? Yeah. But bad? No. The worlds were brought to life with vibrant colors, fluent motion on weapon usage, and a huge variety of character models that are charming. The remake upgraded and remixed the entire soundtrack, and that's kind of a good and bad thing. Sometimes it worked out in its favor, other times I preferred the original. Thankfully in this game, you're allowed to select between both the remake and the original game, so you get no arguments out of me on the music selection front. Here's a sample of one of my favorite tracks from the original game compared to the remake. As far as sound effects, they were on point for the most part, with the cool addition of voice acting while attacking, being hit, and casting magic. Reactions of the characters bring this world to life, but are hindered a bit by way too much repetition. My biggest frustration with the remake was the controls. Though updates have happened already that have fixed some of my minor complaints, many are still prevalent. The ring system has been fixed to show an image of the character in use, but at seemingly random times, swinging at enemies wouldn't register that you'd even swung at them. And something as basic as trying to charge your weapon while also using a different character to cast magic would lose the charge of your weapon on your original character. So you'd have to pick between whether you wanted to charge your weapon on an enemy or use magic. You couldn't do both. It seems like a minor frustration at first, but is extremely noticeable during the later, more challenging battles. It is something that is able to be updated via a patch, I'd imagine, but that has still not happened yet. Let's talk about the storyline. This is one place where the remake actually shines. It's better than the original, more fleshed out. The addition of discussions when staying at the inns adds some depth. Unfortunately, those will get stale and outdated as soon as you get past certain aspects of the storyline and stay at an older inn. The characters will rehash storylines that have already been played out. Overall, however, this game does a good job of adjusting the dialogue and better describing the storyline ultimately to the player. The addition of voice acting really helps a lot as the game progresses. It's just really cringy at the start. Gameplay. The player's overall enjoyment of the experience. Is it fun? Yeah, I played it the whole way through, and for the most part, had a blast with it, outside of minor squabbles and glitches and bugs and blue screens. The game, at its core, is still fun. I enjoyed it more and more as the game unfolded. Unfortunately, it felt as though sometimes an issue that I would learn to overcome would only be replaced with a more annoying one that was done better in the original. How can you miss things that were already created perfectly the first time around and then not include them in the remake? Like your total amount of hit points at the bottom of the screen. It doesn't show you have this out of this many hit points left. It just shows you how many hit points you have left. And it doesn't seem like such a big deal to someone who's just casually playing, but in intense battles when you're trying to heal each other, you don't know how many hit points you're missing, so it'd be nice to see what you have total so you know whether you should use a candy or a chocolate to get 100 hit points back or 250 hit points back to refill your health perfectly. And another thing, it doesn't remember where your last magic use was. So if you want to spam magic, you have to attach it to one of the shortcuts. But if you're playing with multiple people, you're not allowed to use shortcuts. So when you want to spam magic, you have to navigate to that specific spell every single time you want to use it, and it's extremely time consuming. In the original Super Nintendo one, it remembered where you were every time you opened up the menu ring. And there were tons of little glitches that I found throughout the game, like when you open up a weapon orb chest in a room, but leave before you completely open the chest, and then come back, it's still there. You can get unlimited orbs for any weapons that you find chests for in this game. Just little tiny things that were just, if they took more time making this, they could have fixed all these tiny little issues to make it a really high quality experience. Using Flamey in the overworld is slow and sluggish. Some of the development decisions left me scratching my head. Why did they build the entire world map to travel around with Flamey, yet not add the actual canon travel flight footage showing the characters whimsically flipping through the air like they did in the original? This is one of the most unique aspects that Secret of Mana created, gone without a trace. And yes, perhaps that can be added again as an update, but why is it missing in the first place? That's why my final score for the Secret of Mana remake is a 7.75 out of 10. And for context, my original score for the Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo is an easy 10 out of 10. And I would highly recommend anyone new to this game play the original Super Nintendo version instead. The remake left me with more of a one step forward, two steps back kind of feeling. For everything it gets right, I felt like it missed the mark on other keys to the game. Being a former QA tester for Sony Online Entertainment, I know from personal experience that I would be embarrassed if a game I worked on got released in the condition that this one did. Perhaps the 5 blue screen game crashes that I got while playing will be patched out. Thankfully, there's an autosave feature that will minimize that damage. But the autosave feature works against you at some points. Perhaps they'll patch in the canon travel scenes, or fix the glitch of weapon charging during magic casting, or add more than just 2 magic shortcut buttons, or add online multiplayer. There are tons of frustrations that I have with this remake that could have easily been fixed during the development if taken a little bit more time before release. Yes, the Secret of Mana remake is a success in my book. While I ultimately would have liked to see more additions like the cut content or even new areas added in, the fact that this game and assets were created by Square Enix from scratch tells me it could lead to a brand new storyline and sequel in this style. Assuming Square Enix takes their time with development of that sequel, which is kind of a stretch after playing this remake, they have the potential to build something truly unique and special. The idea of a new game being created worthy of the Mana name is closer than a lot of us may think, and for that, I am extremely excited. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments section below what you think about the Secret of Mana remake, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.